Good afternoon, Flosstube. It's Lori of MischievousStitches. I want to welcome all of you to my channel today. I'm very glad that you stopped by to visit with me and would like to wish you all a very happy Memorial Day. It is a weekend-long event that we take the time to honor those that are veterans or those that have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. It's also the unofficial start to our summer months, and it is usually warming up, and there's lots of patriotic events and parades and things like that. This weekend, my husband and I took off first thing Saturday morning. Memorial Day is a weekend, and it's a long weekend away from work for me. So we took off Saturday morning to the North Georgia mountains for a little bit cooler weather. I love the winding, meandering roads through the mountains and the produce stands, the junking shops, the antique shops, the shops selling local wares. I just love it all. So we took our time getting up there and we meandered back today. We just arrived home within the past little bit, and I have lots to share. I have a small finish to celebrate the Memorial Day holiday, as well as the focus pieces that I've been working on for the past week or so, and a couple of things that I picked up fabric to kit up, one to finish kitting and one I haven't gotten the threads yet, but I'll share those with you as well. So let's just get started. So in the past couple of weeks, I've kind of kept the same rotation, which is not always the way I roll, but it's working really well for me right now. So on Mondays, I have been stitching for my friend Kira on Arezzo, and this is usually Mira May, runs along with, I think it's Mira May or Mira Mania, but Kira has started her first Mira for her birthday, since her birthday is in May, and asked others on her Flosstube channel to join in, so I did. And I have been working on this only on Mondays afternoons after work. Haven't got a chance to work on it today, but I have worked on it some since I last saw you. So here is Arezzo. Let me tighten that up a little bit because I can see the shadow from the folds. I usually loosen my Q-snaps when I put a piece down after I've stitched on it, and what I mean by that is I just take the snaps and I turn the clamps inward so that it's loose. So let me tighten it back up. That way the piece, if I don't take it off completely, I at least loosen it so that it doesn't stretch the fabric. And that may just be in my mind, but that's just how I do it. But here it is. So when I last saw you, I had the greenery here, the leaves, the flowers on this side. And I put a few more stitches in here on last Monday, and then I realized I had misread one of the symbols, and I have a dark green color in there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the incorrect color. The symbol was, there's both a forward and reverse of that same symbol, and I just used the wrong one, and so I need to pull that out, and that's what made me put it down that night. But I did get a little more of her hair. I actually pulled out some of the beads, or pulled out the beads. I thought I would have them all because I've got several little storage cases for my beads, and I have a lot. And I thought, oh, I'm sure I have something or something similar, and I did not have the correct two of the beads, and they weren't similar to colors that I had. So two I had, one I substituted for this aqua type blue in her hair. I think it was, but it was a similar shade but different, so I replaced it with what I had. And I did order the other two, and I got those in. Let me share them with you. Actually, I've got them here. And it calls for Mill Hill beads. I used to stitch Miras all the time. I just absolutely love them, and the friends that I stitched with a lot at the time, they also would stitch lots of Miras. So I have a good collection of beads, but I did not have these two colors. So I had to order them, and it is a rusty orange, and it's 02034, and a petite bead 42101. And those, most of the beads, I think the orange ones are gonna be up here in the scroll work above the windowsill that she's leaning into or out of. And the remainder of the colors are in her hair. So it does have beading, but it's not overly beaded. and I do still enjoy beading. Since this piece is smaller and I should be able to keep it within the Q-snap dimensions, I don't have to remove it. I'm gonna bead as I go. But with a normal Mira, they're so large that it's difficult to do that. So when I'm stitching a larger one, I do not bead until the end. But back to this being Kira's piece. So she is now using the hashtag Mira for Kira. And I think I'm going to continue to stitch on this even though I will continue to stitch outside of her birthday month, because this is an old whip and I'm ready to get it finished. So there's that. So I work on that on Monday and I'll work on it again tonight. And if you hear that, the storms that followed us from the North Georgia mountains and across the southern US this weekend is starting to hit here. I can hear it. The wind is picking up too. So I'm gonna try to get this finished. So I don't know what the noise is gonna take over in a minute. But on Sundays, I started last week stitching on this piece, and it is the Bristol Squirrel sampler. And I know I repeat myself with these pieces each week, but I always wonder if there's someone new that's watching that has not watched me in the past. And I want to make sure they know what the names of everything are. But this is in black and white. I did download this from one of the Facebook groups, but this is the Bristol Squirrel sampler. And I am stitching it on a piece of 36 count atomic ranch in the color Dune. I'm using one strand of thread over 2 linen threads, and I'm very close to a page finish. So this is where I am now. So I started in the top left corner of the pattern, and I have went down the left-hand side, and on this side here, I am at the page break. And I do go over onto the second page to go ahead and finish whatever motif that I'm working. But this cross, the large crosses at the bottom, I probably have about 2 more before I'm overhanging the next page, and that makes me happy. So I did share an update piece last week, and the friend that I'm stitching this with, Christine, reached out. We were talking back and forth this weekend, and she's been watching my progress because she's already finished the page. She plans to move over to the right, and because she's moving to the right, I think I'm gonna go further down and try to get the length of it. That way we can see different pieces of the sampler develop as we're stitching, and I'm excited about that. So I will continue to work on this. I did go ahead and put my stitches in for this week, because with the holiday and today's Monday, so I'm normally at work. It's kind of thrown my rotation off a little bit, but not in a bad way. But Friday night, I sat down and went ahead and put my Sunday stitches in for this piece, but I generally work on it on Sundays. And I really, to be honest, did not want to put that one down. And on Wednesday, I pick up another piece that my friends April, Mary, and Natasha were all stitching along on this one. This is from the Teresa Kogut book, Hello Spring, and the name of the pattern is Cottage Bouquet. And I didn't get as much as I would have liked. I was watching Netflix that night, and I started watching a series called Unbelievable, and it was very interesting to me, and it had me really engulfed, and because of that, I didn't get as much done on this as I would have liked to. But when I left you last week, there were no stitches past this mark here. The butterfly was outlined with the color pink here in the one wing. So this past Wednesday, I took those lines out a little bit further, and it goes across the whole top of the piece. I put in all the blue stitches with just 2 colors there, gave him his little antenna, and I did the top of his head and got started with the pink. No, I didn't get started. There was some yellow in the tips of the wings down here close to his body. So that's all I got done on it this week, and that made me very happy. And what else did I work on? Let me put that back in there. I don't want to lose it. And on the way up for the weekend to our trip, I started this piece and I kept the packaging, and I think I shared it the last video, but it's a kit from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to show you, like I said, the packaging. This is it. I think it was like $3, very inexpensive. I picked up one when I was there picking up threads for a piece I'll share with you in just a minute. And I started it and finished it on the trip up and during our stay there this weekend. I really like it. It does have 2 hangers here. I still am not sure how I'm going to fully finish it, other than to say I'll use double-sided tape to go across the back, and I'll put a red piece of felt or maybe a blue piece of felt on the back to cover my actual stitches. But this is the front. There is one specialty stitch in case you go by to pick this one up, just so you know. Every one of the stars, if you can see, let me see if I can sit back. They're French knots. And without this being on a hoop or something that, it was difficult to control the tension like I would like to put in the French knots. I used a few, 2-3 lengths of thread just so that I would have the extra string so I could keep the tension taut as I completed those stitches. But I think they turned out great. Of course, I immediately will see the ones with the mistakes on them, but overall, I think it's a great little piece. I'm thinking about doing something similar that I did several months ago for a retreat giveaway, and it was a wooden blank in the shape of a heart, and I did a beaded rope with jute twine as the finish. I think I'm gonna do something similar here. Since I did have leftover wooden beads, I just need to paint them in the color of the flag, the red, white, and blue, and finish that up. But you'll see that in the next coming weeks, hopefully by 4th of July. I'm thinking either, maybe I'll hang this from my rearview mirror on my car or take it to work, we'll see. But I love how it finished up. And I did have a good many threads left over, plenty. So just FYI, it's well kitted. Does not come with the needle or only the threads and nothing else. Thread, pattern, and the wooden blank. That's it. And that brings me to my shop model. This is the Artsy Housewife. It is gorgeous. And I'm stitching this piece on the remnant of my piece for the Bristol sampler. And this is, again, it's Atomic Ranch. It is 36 count dune. The difference with this one is I'm stitching it in 2 threads. Let me hold up the other one so you can see the coverage. I had started it, if you may have heard this story a video or 2 back, but I had started it, the shop model, and I wasn't working on it because I did not like it. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy the stitching, I didn't enjoy the piece, I didn't enjoy the stitching. And I had chosen to do 1 strand, which works fine on this because I stitched this one in hand, I don't put it on a hoop. Can you see, you can see a little bit of the shadow of the fabric behind the stitching, which really doesn't bother me that much on this one for some reason. Maybe it's because the red pulls your eye to it a little more. But on this one, same fabric, same count. This one is 2 threads. Let me see if I can hold them together. No, it's not the same fabric. I'm just telling you a fib. I thought it was. I'm gonna hush. Anyway, they're both 36 count. I've been saying that wrong and reporting that wrong. I thought it was the same fabric, but it's obviously not. So I'm just gonna say this is a mystery 36 count fabric. And when I stopped stitching on it, I had removed the start of one of the fern leaves, the whole flower, the outline of the head, and the other fern leaf. And I put it all back in, and now you see I've made some progress. It's 2. That was the reason I changed it. I was stitching 1 over 2. Now I'm stitching 2 over 2. Here, I'm still thinking about my brain fog. I have so much brain fog lately. It drives me a little crazy. My husband and I had a discussion about that on our way back. He had said something early in the week. And it's been several days. It was actually last weekend we had a conversation and I disagreed with him, and then we were going to pick up something to take care of what we were discussing. And this weekend, so a week later, I'm thinking on that conversation. I'm like, why did I think that? Because what we need is actually in the other room, which is what he was trying to say, but I wasn't comprehending it right for some reason. I was thinking he was saying something totally different. And I'm doing that stuff all too frequently. So I'll just chalk it up to my age. But I plan on working on this some tonight too. I'm really enjoying this more, and I really would like to get this one completed in the next couple of weeks so I can drop this off at the shop that I'm stitching it for when I attend a class there. So wish me luck I can get it finished before then. I think I can, because basically this is repeating over here. This fern leaf is complete. So I'm starting on, if you can see, a few stitches here is the outline of this flower. There's one more fern leaf. There's the bird in his wing, and he's sitting in a teacup. The colors are beautiful, I think. Oh, still thinking on it. What else? So I did get a couple of pieces of fabric this week. I will know who they are correctly. This is another piece I shared with you last week. I'm going to be stitching with a few friends, and it's a very loose stitch along, meaning we don't have a start date, anything like that, but I'm going to start it soon. Probably after the model is finished, I'm going to put a piece, start on this one. I shared with you the colors last week, but I have this fabric. It's not the called for fabric because that dyer, I don't believe is still dyeing. And this is 32 count Mermaid's Tail by Barefoot Fabrics. And here are the colors. I can do better than that. Give me a second. Let me jazz it up. That's most of them. -4. So I'm looking forward to stitching on that. So now I have it fully kitted. And then I also have another start. I have an idea who I'm want to give this to. This is one of my favorite monster stories, and a friend stitched a turtle. She memory stitched a large turtle and on a colored fabric, and it was absolutely stunning. This is by Stitching Jewels Designs. It's on Etsy, and this is Frankenstein, and he's done in just black. Stitching Jewels recommends that you stitch it on a light colored fabric, light white, so that the black can show up. But what about a very light green? So this is another Barefoot Needle Arts piece. This is Frankenstein. Let me share it, the whole piece. It's colored, but it's still light. And I think it's gonna look great. Now, I'm not sure when I'll get this one started, but it'll be a this year start, so I've still got a few months. Hopefully after finishing the shop model, maybe I can work towards a finish on Mira's Mira, the Mira for Kira. But again, I think this is gonna look great. So as I said before, my husband and I drove up to the North Shores of the Mountains, and we went through Helen, Georgia, and they have a granary there. And it's called the Nora Granary. And they do have a website. I'll try to link it below because you can order these things from there. They had different types of grits, cornmeal, flour, porridge. I think there's some wheat products too. I love their yellow grits. We make grits in the winter more often than we do in the summer, but it's a very filling breakfast food. We make them a couple of different ways, but we love the yellow grits. And since I was up that way, because we only go up that way maybe at the most 3 times a year, we stop by and I always pick up a 2-pound bag of grits because they'll last us for a little while. What we have in the stores here are the white grits. There's also a local place here in South Carolina. I think it's the Palmetto grits. And you can pick those up there on the coast of South Carolina in some of the more gifty shops. This is the old mill. You walk in the old mill, they have jams and jellies and relishes and all these ground products that you can purchase. I love visiting it. If you go to the back, they do have a place where you can sample the grits. Yesterday they had grits, porridge, and the spices that you can put on them to give them the taste that you're looking for, as well as, which they also sell, like for the porridge, they had a maple sugar. And then they were also frying hoe cakes, which is a pan-fried bread using cornmeal. And right outside of there is a back porch with the water wheel still there. It's not in, I don't believe is it still working? But there's also a slight waterfall, man-made waterfall, and it's to help supply a certain amount of water to the mill. But it's still there, and it had been raining all morning. It was just absolutely beautiful to walk back there. The sound of the water, I believe that's considered the Chattahoochee River. It's just blows your mind. It's just natural beauty. But anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. I'm saying a lot just to say, here it is, and I'll link it below. And then we visited an antique shop. This time, Clint actually bought something for himself. He doesn't normally. I was very happy for him. I found 2 little things that I have a small collection of, and I picked up a couple more. And these are tomato pincushions. I don't change them in any way. So you've got a very thick, very big needle that someone had. I don't change them. I leave them just as the original owners of these cushions left. Like this one also has a thread, 2 or 3 threads still on it. I may have 10 to 12 now, but I love them. When I see them, I pick them up. There was also a green kitchen scale. Looks like to be from maybe the 40s, maybe earlier. And they were near that scale. And I put them in the scale, and it was a olive shade of green, a solid shade of olive green. And it was absolutely beautiful. But I think, why do I keep, I don't have the shelf space for these things. But I could see myself having that scale set up somewhere in my stitch room with these sweet little tomatoes on it, but it just wasn't to be. It was a little more pricey than I wanted to pay. But I did take a picture of them together. I think I shared it on Instagram, and that way, when I finally get the shelves that I'm wanting in my stitch room, I may find something similar that I like that I can use, but it was just a thought. And one more thing before I go, I will have a small giveaway today. And this giveaway is for Summer Tribute, and this is by October House Needle Arts. And it looks to be stitched. Let me read what it's stitched on instead of guessing like I did my own piece. There is a Weeks Dye Works with it calls for Weeks Dye Works. There is a DMC conversion on it. The fabric is by Color and Cotton, and it's called Stratus. So you have a basket of fruit, and you have some just summer flowers here. Each side, each one of those baskets and those flowers are bordered, and summer is written below. It's a very sweet design. It reminds you of summer, the colors. So if you're interested in this pattern, please do not say giveaway down below. If you will, just tell me what you did this Memorial Day weekend, our unofficial start of summer. And if you're not in the US, just tell me how you spent your weekend. I will choose a random winner next weekend before I film. I should be back on again next Sunday. You must be 18 or older to receive this pattern, as I will have to request your mailing address. And I want to thank you all for joining me today, for listening in. If you've stayed this long, I appreciate you being here so very much. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. It's not quite over yet, but you had a wonderful weekend. And until next time, hugs and stitches. Bye-bye.